A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mawani and I welcome all of you to StudyIQ. Dear friends, look at the statement here. There is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. That means you have to work hard. There is no shortcut at all. If you want to climb up, then you have to take a stairs rather than an elevator. With this positive note, please allow me to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses. Now, StudyIQ provides different pen drive and tablet courses for different exams like SSC, bank, other government exams and UPSC. Regarding UPSC, I must also add that the latest test series is out. It is available on our studyiq.com website. And if you have any further question or queries regarding this pen drive and tablet courses, then feel free to give us a call on the number that you can see on the screen. Now let's start with the Hindu, and let's start with this article. This is one of the most important article that I believe is printed in today's Hindu, and it is pertaining to the situation that is going on in West Asia. Now uncertainty is you can say is the clouds of uncertainty have been there on this part of the world. When I say West Asia, I'm referring to this portion here. You can take Turkey, you can take Iran. Of course, Iran is not written here, but we know Iran is here. This is the country that is Iran. So all these countries, we are talking about this place, and we know that for the longest period of time, like countries like Syria and parts of Turkey, parts of this Iraq were conquered by this ISIS group, right? ISIS. Then recently we have witnessed a Kurdish referendum that took place in Iraq, about which the central government was not happy. Then we are also witnessing there is a problem between a rising problem, or you can say that the problem is brewing between these two, Turkey and many countries of Europe. Recently we also saw, when I say recently, I'm talking about since last 6 months nearly, the problems between this Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Saudi Arabia is on one side, and it is supported by this UAE and Egypt, and other countries are on Saudi Arabian side, and they have basically cut the relationship with Qatar, and they believe that because it is supporting Iran. So these are the things that are going on for quite a long period of time. There is a sort of war situation in Yemen. Syria is disturbed for the longest period of time, and now the biggest thing that happened recently is United Nations General Assembly, in which now there is a sort of the future of this Iran nuclear deal. We don't know what side or what will be the outcome of this thing, because the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that is also known as JCPOA, right? So this JCPOA, it is an agreement between P5. When I say P5, I'm talking about these 5 countries that you can see on the screen. P refers to the most powerful one, the one who are the permanent member of United Nations Security Council. +1, then you have to take Germany as well, and P5 +1 is this Germany included, and then this 6 countries, negotiated with Iran regarding its nuclear enrichment or its nuclear program, nuclear weapon program. And for the longest period of time, this thing was this crisis or this fear of nuclear weapons coming in the hands of Iran was there. But finally it was in 2015 when this deal or this agreement was sorted out. And remember, this is not an agreement just between these 6 countries and this country of Iran, or we are not talking about only 7 countries here. It is an agreement of world community, because this 5 + 1 are selected by United Nations, right? The whole process has been done by United Nations Security Council, and it is an international agreement. This is something it is very important to mention here, because USA, United States of America, and particularly Donald Trump, in his recent speech in the United Nations General Assembly, he has said that he is going to cancel the deal. He's not happy about this nuclear deal. What he's saying that with this deal, in next 5 years, Iran will have nuclear weapons. So USA is not happy about that, and basically what happens every 90 days, this US government has to, Trump has to certify it that everything is going okay. Now the international agencies like IAEA, who is looking after, who is the watchdog of this sort of nuclear bombs and things like that, they are saying that everything is fine in Iran. Iran itself is happy about all the sanctions that were applied on it. It was crippling its economy, but now Iran is happy that it can trade with all the countries around the world. And in fact, the statements of this USA is quite frightening, because in future, if we have any sort of deal with North Korea, then North Korea would say that if what if in near future USA will reject this whole agreement. So it is going to be a big problem, not only for this Iran, but it is going to be a big problem for the whole world. And Europe, who has recently started having good relation, or you can say the bilateral trade relation between Iran and Europe has gone up nearly 60 in last 6 months. We find somewhere around 95% rise compared to what it was the year before, and it is clocking at 12 billion at present. 12 billion US dollar trade is taking place between EU, that is European Union, and Iran. Apart from that, we also know that when we talk about the world level, then we have Russia, we have China, who are a sort of rival of United States, and they have clearly stated that they are not going to follow this thing. Iran has clearly declared recently that this is an international agreement. There cannot be any sort of negotiation with this thing. And we know the stand of China and Russia. They are going to oppose the move of United States. And United States is saying that we have to start from the scratch. We can start the whole negotiation again. And this could lead to a sort of war-like situation. If USA cancels, the biggest worry is that if USA steps out of this particular deal, and if this falls, this agreement is cancelled, then Iran may start producing weapons, right? Because now it would be very difficult for the world community to bring Iran on table, and it will start making weapons, and this will lead to a sort of conflict situation in this part. Now we know that Israel is an ally of USA. Israel and Iran are arch rival. They are always ready to confront each other. Saudi Arabia and Iran are arch rival. They are also not. They are never. It is very difficult to see them on table together. So this sort of issues will start again. They are skeptical about Iran having nuclear weapons, but if the deal is cancelled, then this could lead to that thing. And the other thing is that the wars going on, the problems going on in Yemen or Syria, Iran may start supporting the rebel groups, and this sort of guerrilla warfare and terrorist attack may take place, and it will impact India as well. All the things that is going around the world, if we are particularly preparing for competitive exams in India, then one thing that we have to see is from the perspective of India. We have to analyze how it is going to impact India. Now we know that 80% of our fuel is coming from overseas, isn't it? We are importing our energy thing from all the fuels. Crude oil is coming from overseas, and we are purchasing a solid amount from Iran, and we are also supplying medicines and rice and other things. We are trading with Iran. So if Iran is going ahead, or if there is any sort of war-like situation or tension in this part, then of course the prices of petrol will go up. Then it will impact our economy. It will impact basically the prices will go up, inflation will go up, it will impact our economy, and this will be detrimental for India. But the trading relation will come down with the trade that we do with this region will come down as well. This will impact our profit. And then we also have Chabahar port. Remember, here we have a Chabahar port through which we are going to connect this Afghanistan, and from here we are going to get connection to the Central Asia. So the long term as well, it will be not good for India, and this situation can be exploited by Pakistan. It may take side of Iran, and then it may do things that are detrimental for India. So this is the overall situation, what is going on. Again, we have to wait and watch, because it is the 15th of October, right? This is the last date. We have to see whether Trump is giving a green signal or a red signal to this nuclear deal. If he is giving a red signal, then the Congress, that is the Parliament of USA, will decide what to do about it. And if they also agree with Trump, then sanctions will be applied. Sanctions basically means that no one can trade, or USA will issue a sort of notice that no one will trade with Iran, and this and that, and conditions will be applied, and this may lead to a sort of dangerous situation. So again, wait and watch. Now let's move on to another topic, and this is regarding economics. Now from last many days we are finding something and something regarding economics, and some of you would be thinking like every day we have to discuss this thing, but what can I do? There is an editorial, and this one is important because it will add on to the things that we have discussed earlier. Now basically RBI, right, Reserve Bank of India. Yesterday I told you two things. I told you there is a sort of fiscal thing and there is a thing called monetary. So this one is pertaining to monetary because it is about RBI. Now what is what this article is saying is basically the Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee. Right now, what is MPC? What is this committee? It has 6 members, and out of this 6 members, 3 are from RBI and 3 are appointed by the government. Now, what happens is if they want to reduce the rates, or you can say the policy rates. Now, let me tell you what policy rates are basically. Now, as you know that RBI is the central bank, and it gives money to, if the money is required by the lower banks, that is, say for example SBI. Then SBI will go to RBI and it will borrow some money from it. So of course RBI will charge a sort of interest on it. So this interest is called as a repo rate, right? This is called repo rate, the money that is given by RBI to the lower bank. So it is repo rate. At present it is 6%, right? It has kept 6%. So if you take 100 rupees, then you have to pay 6 rupees as interest. Simple as that. Then there is a thing called reverse repo rate as well. That means when RBI requires money for whatever reason, if it wants to take away the money, if there is extra money, if RBI thinks that there is a sort of a huge amount of money in circulation, and it impacts inflation as well, because if you have too much money in your pocket, then you will start spending. When you start spending, the person who are supplying, they will say that, okay, is everyone is having money with them, then how about if I raise 5 rupees, no one will bother. They increase 5 rupees, then again they increase. So I'm just giving you a small example. It may look a bit weird, or you think that is this the way how it works, but my effort here is to make it as simple as possible. So when you are spending money, when you are having money, when people are having money in their pocket, then the people who are supplying the items, they will increase it. So this is how inflation will kick up. So to control that thing, RBI will take away the money. It will make the access to money bit difficult. It will raise the interest rate, right? By raising the interest rate, the loans becomes expensive, and you know the whole cycle now, because we have discussed about this thing yesterday itself. So this is the thing. Reverse repo rate is when the RBI wants the money from the bank, then it has to pay interest to the bank as well. So this is kept at 5.75%. And many times if say for example, if SBI is having money in its hand, and if it thinks that it would be better to earn interest from RBI, then it will send this money and RBI can take it. So this is repo rate and reverse repo rate. Now, Monetary Policy Committee at every 2 months. That's why it is known as bi-monthly policy. Bi means 2. So bi-monthly policy, it has decided to keep the rates unchanged, right? And this monetary policy, as you know now, that there are 6 members here. RBI governor is the head of this team, and if there is any decisions that they take, there is of course a voting do take place, and if there is a sort of tie between these 6 people, if there is no final decision, if 3 are saying yes and 3 are saying no, then it is the RBI governor who will finally say whether to go ahead with it or not to go ahead with it. So this is how it works, and the main focus, or the main job of RBI is to ensure that inflation is under control, and the target of RBI is 4%, right? This is a target. This is the percentage at which the consumer price index or the inflation has to be kept. It has a sort of +2 and -2 option. So the minimum it can go is 2% and the maximum allowed is 6%, right? Of course, if you would be thinking that what about keeping it at 0, then it is not good as well. We need a healthy inflation is somewhere between this 2% and 6%. Ideally it should be tried to be kept at 4%, right? So their main job is to do this, and by not changing this rates, they have also indicated that they have adopted a neutral stance. Now these are the words, isn't it? These words are frightens. What is a neutral stance? Now let me give you a small example. I'm sure many of you would be driving cars, or many of you would be riding motorcycles. Now, you know, when you ride a motorcycle or a car with a gear, then there is an option called neutral. When your car or bike is in neutral, that means you are not doing anything, isn't it? If it's in neutral, then it will stay where it is. It's not in gear. So in the same way, when it is saying that it is adopting a sort of neutral stance, that means it is going to stay, the rates are going to be as it is at present. No changes should be expected. And it has also given the reason. It has RBI has said that the reason why we are not changing it, because the oil prices are going up for 2 reasons. For the first one is, for the longest period of time there was supply was high and demand was low, so the prices were falling down. Now the supply has been reduced to a certain level, and the demand it is observed that the demand is going up, so the prices of petrol is going up. Apart from that, the tensions that are taking place in West Asia and other parts, this is the reason. Then we had this cyclones as well in America. So these are some of the reasons. Then there is another thing in India, and that is it is anticipated that the Kharif crop, the crop that we saw in the monsoon season, the outcome would be a bit weaker. So that is the thing that can impact food inflation. Third thing is, most of these many state governments are giving away loan waiver, right? So when you are giving away loan waiver, or you are paying the loan of the farmers, then what happens is, at the end of the day, you would be having less money in your pocket. So you would be able to spend less money, or the government would be able to would not be in a position to invest in the projects and the things that require some money or some sort of support. So these are the 3 major points about which this is the rationale or reasons that are provided by RBI. And the other thing that I would like to add here is that this RBI has said that yesterday we were talking about the confidence, isn't it? That how psychology and confidence, it is all about confidence, and at present we do not see any sort of confidence in the market, and this is one of the reasons as well. RBI is again not confident to reduce this rates. The other thing is that there is a sort of geopolitical uncertainty as well. We know the situation in Korea right now. Just now we have discussed about the things that could happen with Iran and Iran nuclear deal, and financial market as well. We know a couple of days ago this USA's Federal Reserve Bank has said that they are going to increase the interest rate. So the money that was flowing towards India, it can go back, because they can earn more money in USA if they park it in this. If the Central Bank of USA is paying more interest, right? If anyone is depositing the money over there, then of course the money will flow over that side. And it has suggested, RBI has said to the government that there are some steps that you can take, and if you take these steps, then things will be fine. And it is all repetitive. Yesterday we talked about it, like say for example, recapitalize PSBs, that is public sector banks, give them money, sort their bad loan out. It has also said that this GST, there are some technical glitches with this GST network that should be sorted out. It has stated that the projects that are not working, or that the projects that are stalled for the longest period of time, should be started again, because if the project is started again, then jobs will be created, new infrastructure will be developed, which will help in developing the overall economy, and also the lenders, the banks who have financed this project, will get something out of it. So these are the steps that are recommended by this RBI. Other informations, this one particularly, these are some points from Editorial, and here are some points from the front page of the Hindu, which I have merged here because it was talking about the same thing. This one has details regarding inflation and things like that, and this is more about knowledge and understanding. So I hope this is clear. Now moving on to another editorial, and this is regarding the Nobel Prize in physics, to be specific. Now yesterday as well, this thing was in news, and we talked about how 100 years ago it was Einstein who said that there is something called gravitational waves, but in 2015, with the help of this LIGO-Virgo collaboration, when I say we, I mean to say that human beings, right? It is not only about these three people here. If you widen your gaze, right, then you will find that once upon a time we used to be hunter-gatherers, isn't it? We used to hunt and gather fruits and food. We're not knowing anything about what's going on, but from that point of time till now, imagine the things that human beings have done, right? It may look, if we wear the glasses of being Indian and being a USA citizen, or being white or being brown and this and that, if we are engaged in it, then we won't be able to see it. But if we think as a human being, then we find that, wow, from living in caves, now we are heading towards a thing through which we will know about the history of universe. This is something very exciting. This is absolutely brilliant. Now this LIGO-Virgo collaboration for the detection, they have basically this laboratory has detected gravitational waves. What is gravitational wave? How they are generated? They take place because of due to colliding of black holes. Like when the two black holes, when they merge or when they collide with each other, then there is a sort of wave, a ripple effect that goes around the universe, or you can say the space, and this creates a sort of violent waves. But we are not affected by it because we are too far from it, and you can understand how far we are from this thing with this example. Like it took 1.3 billion years, right? Again, I'm repeating myself. 1.3 billion years for these waves to reach at Earth. So you can imagine the distance, you know, light year and things like that. The speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per second. So light year would be, you have to calculate that thing with the light, and now you can have to, when you calculate this 1.3 billion years, so you can understand we are talking about ages. So this thing took place 1.3 billion years ago somewhere in the space, and we were able to detect it in 2015. And the waves are not having, they are very subtle. You know, you need to have a very sensitive detectors, and this are available with this LIGO-Virgo collaboration. Now it was first time, as I told you, in 2015, but till now, recently, a couple of days ago, we have detected this gravitational wave for the 4th time. And these are the achievements, like Rainer Weiss, he identified the source, and there is Barry, who contributed in scaling up the project, then Kip. These are the 3 people I'm talking about. He was the one who was guiding the whole team of 1,000 or more than 1,000 researchers, and they have finally done it. Now the good thing, or from Indian perspective, we can say that the laboratories are going to be developed in India as well. I told you yesterday that it is coming here and it will be set up by 2024, but before that there would be a Japanese Kagra in 2019. I'm moving on to another item, and this is about coal-fired projection. Now what is it all about? Recently NITI Aayog came out with a draft national energy policy, and what it is saying that from now and 2014 there will be a sort of renewable energy production will go up, and the fossil fuel, that is coal and other fuel based energy production, will come down. That's what it is saying. But what it is, if you go through the figures, then if you go through the other reports and other figures, then we find that the population of our country is going up, isn't it? And it will go up as well. And at present, per capita electricity, that means per person using electricity, or the need of electricity per person in India on average is 1075 kilowatt hours in 2015-16, but in 2040 it will be 2900. You can say nearly 3 times, isn't it? So this is the thing, and we know it very well that renewable energies at present, the way we are going, we cannot say that everything will be sourced from this thing. There are positive and negative sides, but of course there will be, when we talk about the overall energy production, then this fossil fuels will always be there in the basket, even in 2040. So when this Niti Aayog's draft national energy policy DNEP is saying that we are steadily moving towards renewable and moving away from this fossil fuel, then that is something which is short-sighted, or you can say that they have not thoroughly gone through the things, because even today as well, most of the energy is produced by using coal, and the sad thing is that our coal production units are not efficient enough, right? They are wasting too much coal, too much carbon is coming out and things like that. And if the production is going to go up, then 67%, if the population and the demand is going to go up, then the coal production will go up as well. At the same time, the energy that is produced from the coal will go up as well. And again, when we go through the minor details, and this article is saying that there is no sort of any sort of reduction, or there is no sort of limits on India that we have to reduce this much amount of this thing. And this is, of course, India has self-determined. India has said that it is going to reduce its carbon emission to somewhere around 30% by 2030 and 2033, between that point of time. But it is not imposed by Paris climate change, so we feel free to do that. So India could exploit this thing. And the other thing is that it has also, this DNEP has also missed one thing, is that electric cars, electric vehicles and things are coming. They are not far from here now, where we are standing at present. And the other thing is that there could be a future, in near future, we may find things that the electricity people, or the government providing electricity to the people, will go away as well, because everyone would be having their own electric production units at their houses. That thing as well, there are many research going on, and there are some successful things as well, like say for example, if there is a building or a flat, then you would have all this electric generating system underneath your parking or your cellar, and so there won't be any requirement of this connection from government or any discoms. So this could be a future as well, and we have to reduce our dependence on coal supply and fuel that we import from other countries, because we know that if there is any sort of problems going on in West Asia, then it impacts us, and we cannot run the show forever based on these things. So of course this Niti Aayog should expand its vision, and it should also identify the shifts, the things that are changing in the market or in terms of technology, how we can promote more renewable energy, how we can make if we have to rely on this coal based power plants, then how we can reduce its how we can increase its efficiency, and how we can reduce the dependence on Western countries, and depend on how we can reduce carbon emission. Sorry about that. Right, so that's everything about it, this one. And there is another article, and this is talking about the recent case. We have discussed this thing in detail, and it is about consent. We discussed about how it is necessary and what happens generally in our country, and I'll repeat it again very briefly. It is talking about the recent case of an American researcher who was raped by Mahmoud Farooqi. He is an artist and a filmmaker. So he raped this woman from America, and they were in sort of relation, or they were knowing each other, and the court, or in our country what we believe, or generally What I believe, or what I'm trying to say here is that it is generally believed that there cannot be any sort of rape between two married people. But the thing is, it is about consent, isn't it? It is if one person is not happy about sexual relationship between these two people, then if one party is not agreeing with it, then as well if the lady is forced, then of course it is rape. The other thing is, most of the time it is believed that if there is no sort of physical injury, then you cannot call it a rape. But now there are many cases in newspapers as well. We read that many criminals, they threaten poor girls. When I say poor girls, I don't mean to say financially poor. I mean to say that they have no other option. When this sort of criminals, they threaten to kill their families and their brothers and sisters. So they are not resisting physically, but again, they are not mentally happy, they are not emotionally there, and this is a rape as well. So these are the things that court should observe, and it should not throw these things under the carpet as what has happened in this case. And of course, this is an item at that point of time as well. I have said that this is something that we cannot decide. What we can decide or what we can discuss is that what is right or what is wrong, what is possibly right and what is possibly wrong. But again, I'm sure that this matter will go up in the Supreme Court, and there would be some sort of solution. There will be a try to find out a solution regarding this thing, because there are cases of marital rape, and there are cases of two people having a relationship like boyfriend and girlfriend, and then there is a rape in that sort of situations as well. And many people are saying that if you include a clause of marital rape, then there would be cases after cases where women would be filing or would be exploiting this thing. But we know it very well that it is any happy family wouldn't do this thing, isn't it? This is not because it is not about to harass men. It is about empowering women. So this is the thing we should watch it with. Right, so that's everything regarding this thing. And this one is again, and this was written in about this writer, and his name is Kancha Ilayya. Now he has been writing about this caste system, the negative side of the caste system in our society, and recently he has been threatened. Someone has also called him and said that his tongue will be they will chop off their tongue if he does not keep quiet. So this is happening in our country. See, recently we have seen the murder of famous journalist, and freedom of expression and things like that. I've talked here. Whenever you find this sort of things, then of course freedom of expression is here. But there is also one thing that it is a sort of paradox, isn't it, in our society? We live in a very paradoxical country. On one side we have we promote theory or philosophy of karma. That means if you work, whatever you do, your action will decide your future and your present and things like that. But on the other side you have this caste system as well, which keeps you which segments you, which bounds you into a boundary. On the one side we are talking about this LEGO and the space achievement of our country. Whenever we have any sort of mission on Mars, or we find a success of cryogenic or other technologies, then we cheer it as we all are Indian. But after some time it is all gone, and then again we are back into the business of fighting with each other regarding caste system. And talking about identity, it is something that changes throughout the day. I'll give you a small example. If you have gone through the book of Amartya Sen regarding identity, then there is very interesting thing he argues. He says that you could be, say for example, if you are a student, then you could be a student affiliated with StudyIQ. At the same time, in the afternoon time, you could be a person who is a member of a tennis club. You could be playing violin, and you could be supporting different political parties. You would be drinking, say for example, Pepsi and not Coca-Cola, and you would be using a Nokia phone and not an Apple phone. So this everything, right, all the brands that you wear, the shoes and the food you eat, there are now different identities, like this person is vegetarian, that is non-vegetarian, etc., etc. All these things, generally what we see is that either we consider ourselves as Gujarati or Marathi or Punjabi or South Indian, this sort of divisions, right? We attach these things as on our identity, but our identity is not based on one thing, and that applies to the caste system as well. And Indian constitution, right, if we go through whatever argument we do, at the end of the day it is the Indian constitution that we have to follow. And what Indian constitution is saying, that everyone is equal, isn't it? It is not giving you a sort of you are not provided a sort of different category of citizenship. Everyone has the right to vote. The right that I can enjoy can be enjoyed by the other person as well. That is, it doesn't, constitution is not saying whether you are the so-called top class society or top class caste or the lowest one. Of course, it is providing protection to those community who were in disadvantage for the longest period of time. So these are the things, and whenever we hear this sort of dhamkis and all these threats, particularly to the writers, because what is happening in our society is that people are taking these intellectuals for granted. They are thinking that these people are with the book, so they cannot fight and things like that. And most of the time it is seen that police as well is not that efficient and effective when it comes to dealing with goons. We have seen violence is increasing in many parts of university, and this is of course not acceptable in a country that has got freedom with the help of non-violence. Our constitution for the longest period of time is talking about freedom of speech, expression, and recently we also saw a right to privacy, in which Justice S.A. Bobde has clearly said that privacy must also mean the effective guarantee of a zone of internal freedom in which to think, right? You are allowed to think whatever you like. This is the freedom that is a part of right to privacy. So whatever this author is saying, he is of course saying within the limits of constitution. And there are some elected representatives, some MPs and MLAs, who are saying that he should be hanged. Now there is a big question on these people. Are they true representative of people if they are using this sort of language? This is the behavior that you would expect from your representative of people? Not at all. With this, dear friends, moving on to the news item. Now Prime Minister Narendra Modi he is not happy regarding the negativity that is been spread by this opposition people. He has provided some figures. He has said that during the time of Congress, there was a time when the economy, the growth had slipped to 5.7% for 8 times in 6 years. And he said that at least one should not create a sort of panic or false information in the society. He also talked about the special investigation team that his government constituted as soon as they came into the power. He also talked about low cash due to relentless hard work of the government, from demonetization to digital, providing digital environment of promoting cashless or less cash economy or transactions. He talked about inflation. He said that the inflation is in control for the longest period of time. He talked about current account deficit and fiscal deficit as well. He said that everything is good, and above all he said that government is committed. Government will reverse the trend. Again, India will have a sort of good growth rate. Moving on to another item, Jai Shankar, who is a foreign secretary of our country, he is in Bhutan, right? He is there for 3 days visit. Now I would like to highlight one thing here, and that is this Chumbi Valley. Now you know that this is India, this is Bhutan, a very tiny country, and then you can see here that is China. Doklam issue took place here, and it is important for all of you to know where exactly Chumbi Valley is. Now, to give you a bit of challenge and to ensure that all of you pay enough attention to this particular map, I have a question for you based on this map. Ganga Mission plants turtle sanctuary in Allahabad. There is going to be a turtle sanctuary Of course, we know why we have sanctuary to protect this aquatic biodiversity. And here are 3 names that you should by heart, right? You should of course try to remember them, and you should revise them timely. But again, if you can't, then I would say that by heart this thing. I hardly say this, use words most of the time. 99% of the time I give emphasis on understanding, but some things that you have to keep mug up, and this is the thing. Turtles that you find here, you have different species of turtle that you find in Ganga and Yamuna. Then you have national aquatic animal, that is Gangetic dolphin, and then you have gharials as well that you find. The thing is, if you go through the last year paper, you will find a question on gharial and Chambal River. So this time this question could be asked as well. And Finance Minister is going to ask the state governments, he is going to ask them to reduce VAT. You know that GST is not applicable on petrol and diesel, and recently central government has reduced excise duty to give some support, to give some sort of a cushion to consumers, to common people. And if the state governments also reduce, then the prices of petrol will come down. And the biggest beneficiary, Mr. Pradhan, who is the fuel minister, he has said that the biggest beneficiaries are the states, because they get VAT on it. And apart from that, the 14th Finance Commission has sorted out, or has ordered, that 42% of the central excise should go to the states. So these are the benefits that they get. With this, I have 4 questions for you. One is pertaining to Bhutan. I would eagerly wait for your answer. With this, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do share this lecture, right? Do share the video as well as the PDF file or the lecture slide that you can download from our website or Telegram channel. Do share it, right? It is very important that you pass the knowledge to someone else as well. If you have enjoyed, when I say enjoyed, I mean to say if you have learned something, do give us your like, pass your valuable comment. And with this, enjoy your studies, keep your environment clean and green, stay calm, stay curious. See you later. Jai Hind.